For KOSU, I'm Michael Cross, and it's time for This Week in Oklahoma Politics, along with Republican political consultant Neva and civil rights attorney Ryan Kiesel. The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority is moving forward with a controversial expansion. Commissioners voted to resume work on the $5 billion access project despite protesters at Tuesday's meeting. The project was put on hold after a court found the agency violated the state's Open Meetings Act. Ryan, is the extension now a done deal?
Absolutely not. We are a very long way from ground being broken, even if there weren't legal challenges. I mean, we're talking about a 15-year process here. I mean, we are a decade away from ground being broken, from homes being actually seized by eminent domain and wiped out and created space for this turnpike to be placed. So we're a very long ways away from that happening, even if there weren't going to be these protests. But I think that we have not seen the end of the legal battles. The Supreme Court still has to decide on the validity of bonds that were issued. Even though the district judge, Tim Olson from Seminole County, who sat in the case in Cleveland County, said that the Turnpike Authority had violated the Open Meetings Act, there still remains an outstanding question of whether that violation of the Meetings Act, Open Meetings Act, should lead to criminal charges. I mean, I think that that's something that, I wouldn't say that a prosecutor isn't looking at that. I think a prosecutor has to look at that. And frankly, as Oklahomans, we want, strong enforcement of that. I hate to see anybody go to jail or prison, but, we have criminal penalties for violations of the Open Meetings Act in the law for a reason. So I think that question is unresolved. They've spent millions of dollars already on this project, but they spent millions of dollars on a project that was ultimately undone by a district court judge. And so I think you're going to have some potential disputes between private parties, many of whom are former Turnpike Authority employees. That's the revolving door from public to private sector, that have been receiving millions of dollars in payments for contracted services based on a plan that was ultimately said was invalid because there was a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So you may still have some conflict between private parties that are being paid or expect to be paid under contract in the state.
Neva.
I think, Ryan, you're exactly right. And I think the fact that these commissioners, they voted unanimously to resume this work as if really nothing had happened. And I think the question, certainly you had more than 30 folks that were protesters that have opposed this from the get-go. They were at this meeting earlier this week. One of the members spoke and basically, said very much what you just said. I mean, she made the point that they have already been found to be willfully violating the law based on what's been brought to them, and the issues that are related to that. Certainly have the possibility of criminal prosecution, and I think there's already been comments by these group of homeowners, the protesters, and their attorneys that they are pushing for this to at least be addressed and seriously looked at. So again, they come to a meeting, they continue to expend money on something that is basically been stopped dead in its tracks just weeks ago, and seem to be in the mode at the Turnpike Authority of just forging ahead with the assumption that somehow they'll just be able to override this, overcome this, withstand whatever comes along, even another adverse ruling from the Supreme Court, which, as you say, Ryan, is still sitting there waiting for action. So I think, and when you talk about these former employees, now there's certainly more scrutiny on some of the vendors, some of the folks that have done professional services, and one company in particular that had the two former high-level transportation officials in it. I mean, they approved, these commissioners approved another $6 million and change to them at this meeting, which brought, I think, the tab to about $20 million that they've been paid related to Access Oklahoma, a Oklahoma Turnpike extension plan that is riddled with questions and problems that are still not fully resolved.